I never knew the bravery of the Tuskegee Airmen would change the course of my life. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The thunderous roar of engines overhead felt like a storm rolling in, but it wasn't rain that soaked my cheeks. It was the tears I tried to hold back as I watched their silhouettes against the sun. They soared with a grace that seemed otherworldly, leaving trails of bravery that shimmered in the distance. I stood there, heart pounding, feeling small. My hands trembled as I clutched a faded photo of my grandfather, a Tuskegee Airman. His smile was warm, but his eyes told stories of pain and struggle that I couldn't fully grasp. He had faced battles both in the skies and on the ground, his courage fueling the hope of a nation. But here I was, feeling like a ghost in a family of giants. The weight of his legacy sat heavy on my chest. Mom told me stories of his valor, how he refused to let fear dictate his path. She would speak of late-night missions and the tight-knit brotherhood that formed in a world filled with prejudice. I wanted to honor that legacy, but all I felt was the pressure to be enough. The world around me buzzed with expectations, and every heart that beat for me felt like a stake in my own heartbeat. That day, I discovered the truth of my own spirit as I stared into the stark blue sky. A voice whispered in the silence of my thoughts, urging me forward. What if I could embody the bravery my grandfather displayed? But doubt wrapped around my heart like a vicious bravery inherited, or does it come from within? The unexpected sound of a distant cry pulled me from my reverie. I turned, wide-eyed, seeing a commotion unfolding. A figure stumbled, and a hush fell over the crowd. I felt the tension rising, hearts collectively racing as gasps broke the stillness. Something was wrong. The metamorphosis of a quiet day into chaos unfolded before me. My chest tightened as I edged forward, straining to see over shoulders. Was it a heart attack? A collision? Questions fired through my mind like bullets. The air turned electric with shock, and yet, amidst it all, a flicker of something beyond fear ignited in me. My fingers ached to reach out, to help, to act. As I hovered on that line of choice, I realized bravery wasn't just a word. It was a heartbeat away. What lay beneath all this pain? Would I have the courage to step in? Just then, a figure moved past me, intensive determination in her stride. My heart raced. Who was she? Could she be part of this unfolding drama? Or was this just another person to lose in the chaos? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Amidst the rising chaos, the figure I had noticed pushed through the throng with urgency, her face a familiar blend of determination and fear. As she made her way closer, the chaos seemed to part like waves before her. It was Olivia, a girl from my school and someone I had never expected to be involved in something so tumultuous. She had a reputation for her fierce spirit, often leading us in debates and school projects. But now she appeared as a soldier rushing toward the battlefield. "Get back!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Give her some space." I felt the crowd begin to retreat slightly, creating a small arena of safety around whatever crisis was unfolding. My heart raced as I finally caught a glimpse of the scene. An elderly woman lay on the ground, gasping for air, her face pale and glistening with sweat. Instinct drove me forward, each step heavy with the weight of my grandfather's legacy. Memories rushed through May's laughter, the roughness of his hands, the resolute tilt of his chin when he spoke of not backing down. Would he be proud of me now? I grappled with nerves that screamed for me to stay put, and the part of me that had been ignited by Olivia's unrelenting determination. "Call an ambulance." I heard her bark as she knelt by the woman, scurrying to check her pulse. My hands trembled as I instinctively grabbed my phone from my pocket. Why did my heart race with exhilaration and dread all at once? I dialed the emergency number, my voice barely steady as I communicated our location. "Stay with me, ma'am," Olivia urged, her voice unwavering. In her presence, I felt a strange kinship rooted in some shared call to duty that both terrified and inspired me. "Just breathe. Can you hear me?" She held the woman's hand gently, and like rivulets in a drought, hope trickled through the crowd. Slowly, despite the fear, I felt a peculiar warmth blossom within me. The community that had too often been a sea of strangers was now huddled together, united in concern for one fragile life. It wasn't grand gestures that brought us together. It was the raw vulnerability pulsating in the air-saturated moments before help arrived. As I knelt beside Olivia, the panic of the crowd faded into a backdrop of whispered encouragement and shared concern. For an inexplicable reason, I felt less alone. I was part of something far greater, where bravery wasn't just an inherited trait, but something we could grasp and mold ourselves. "You're going to be okay," I whispered to the woman, feeling the weight of my own fear dissolve just a little. But then, in the middle of this fragile connection, the unexpected happened. The woman suddenly grasped Olivia's hand and pulled her face closer, her eyes locking onto hers with a desperate intensity. "Promise, promise you'll tell them," she gasped, her breath hitching in the frailty of her lungs. "What? Who? Who do you want me to tell?" Olivia's brow creased with worry. The woman opened her mouth to speak again, but only a croak emerged, strangled by the weight of unspoken truth. I felt the air around us constrict with tension. Moments stretched into endless strands of fear, and I could practically see the weight of secrets swirling between us. Before further words could emerge, sirens blared in the distance, a surreal backdrop to the turmoil unraveling in front of us. Just as relief washed over my heart, a sinking dread uprooted it. What secret could she possibly hold that was so vital? Would her truth slip away like those fading echoes of bravery from long ago? In that instant, I knew this moment would change everything. Would we be left holding a mystery, an unresolved past that intertwined with our own? And as the paramedics arrived, that question lingered in the air, heavy and daunting. Where once I felt the burden of my grandfather's legacy, I now felt the tug of something Newa quest to uncover the threads connecting our lives to histories hidden in dark corners, waiting to be exposed. As the paramedics maneuvered through the crowd, their uniforms a sea of authority amidst the chaos, I still felt tethered to that moment with the old woman. Her words echoed in my mind, puppet strings pulling at my heart. They were just whispers now, but something in the urgency of her gaze imprinted itself upon Methy were not just the ramblings of a fragile soul. They were secrets wrapped in desperation. Olivia watched intently as the paramedics began to work. Their hands moved deftly, and she wasn't backing down either. I could see the determination deepening on her face, marred slightly by a glimmer of fear, mirroring my own. A burning urge swelled within me to help more, to reach beyond this fleeting moment of bravery, and uncover the truth laced in that woman's final plea. "Why wouldn't she just tell us what it is?" I murmured, frustrated at my incapacity to help more than just dial a number. "Olivia, did you hear anything else?" She shook her head, her brow furrowing. "No, I was too busy trying to keep her alive." The tightness in her voice didn't just resonate with competence. It bore the weight of empathy, a rawness that made my heart ache a little deeper as the old woman was lifted onto a stretcher. I caught a glimpse of her face again. Despite the struggle, her eyes brightened for a moment as they met Minea's silent acknowledgement of shared responsibility. I wished I knew her name or the story that crafted her frail frame. Olivia and I trailed the ambulance, shoving through the remnants of the crowd until we found ourselves near a coffee shop where we could catch our breaths. The world outside seemed different now, lighter yet darker, shrouded in an unexpected gravity. We sat down on the curb, our minds racing, but silence held us like an old friend. "What do you think she meant?" I finally asked, breaking the spell of contemplation that had cocooned us. Her eyes sparkled, the nature of her strength never wavering. "I don't know, but it felt so important. It was like she was trying to warn us about something, maybe something from her past that could connect with our future." She turned to me, cradling the moment with urgency. "Do you feel it too?" I hesitated before responding. What if we find out something we're not prepared for? What if we walk into the middle of a storm? My voice trembled with uncertainty, but the spark of curiosity was undeniable. I think we're already in the storm, she replied softly, her expression resolute as her finger traced the ground. But maybe the bravery of the Tuskegee Airmen isn't just for history books. Maybe it's for us to unleash right here, right now, in our choices. We need to figure this out. Perhaps it was the way she said it, or simply the pressing weight of the day, but that spark ignited a kindling deep within me. What if uncovering that piece of the past could change our present? Before I could respond, my phone buzzed a message illuminating the screen. My heart raced as I read the name, my father. An instant sense of foreboding gripped me. It had been weeks since I'd heard from him, and the silence had spoken louder than any words could. As I opened the message, I felt like an explorer unearthing a buried treasure. But instead, what I found was a jagged shard of fear. I need to see you now. There's something you need to know. Olivia leaned in, her eyes blazing with concern. What is it? I swallowed hard, trying to disentangle the whirlpool of worry from the unforeseen connection I felt to the elderly woman. It's my dad, I stammered, my throat tight. He wants to meet. He says it's important. Just as I felt the weight of uncertainty wrap itself around me, the distant chime of an ice cream truck pierced the air. A group of children laughing and chasing after the bells seemed a stark contrast to the heaviness we carried. But amidst their innocent joy, I glimpsed something familiar, the flicker of hope. You have to go, don't you? Olivia's words were steady, but a softness hung between us, threading the moment with unspoken companionship. I'll go, I decided, but with a flicker of hesitation. But well, figure out the rest together, right? The woman, her secret, we have to understand why it matters. Absolutely, she affirmed, her spirit and conviction blooming like wildflowers. And I'll be there with you, as my heart raced with both fear and the stirrings of excitement. I turned away from the beautiful cacophony of laughter, knowing this was just the prologue in a story we had yet to write. The mystery was far from resolution, and as I stood ready to confront my father and the ghosts that lingered, I felt the brush of Olivia's hand against mine, grounding me. What lay ahead was a dark labyrinth of secrets, and I had no idea just how intertwined our lives were destined to become. Life would never be the same. The true adventure had only just begun. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of Olivia's unwavering presence by my side, as I hitched my backpack further up my shoulder. The dwindling daylight cast a dusky hue on everything around us, wrapping the world in a warm yet shadowy embrace. I felt as if I were stepping into the unknown, the air thick with the scent of impending rain and something unspoken that lingered between us. As I made my way through the warm streets, the laughter and delight of the children began to fade, replaced by the scuffling of my shoes against cracked pavement. Each step echoed the uncertainty brewing in the pit of my stomach. My father an enigma wrapped in layers of silence. Soon enough, I stood outside the familiar yet unsettling threshold of my childhood home. The beige front door was slightly ajar, swaying in the evening breeze as if it were inviting me in or prompting me to step back. Just as I was about to knock, the sun dipped lower and plunged the world into a foreboding twilight. Before I could gather my thoughts, the door swung open. There he stood, me father. Time had carved its lines into his face, layering it with a heaviness I couldn't discern. His eyes, which once held a glimmer of youth, now held shadows of worry and regret. Hey, I managed to say, my voice cracking as time stretched between us. Hey, he replied, and for a moment, we stood there, suspended in uncertainty, a silent acknowledgement of all the words left unspoken. He gestured me inside, and as I crossed the threshold, a familiar wave of nostalgia washed over me, mingling with the bittersweet ache of all that had gone unsaid. Shedding my shoes at the door, I followed him into the dimly lit living room, the shadows spilling from every corner, like memories propping themselves against the walls. I half expected to hear the echo of laughter from family gatherings long past, but all that remained was an uncomfortable silence that gnawed at me. He gestured for me to sit, and as I settled into the couch, memories of old faded photographs danced in my head, the way his grip had once felt as protective as armor, the moments we lost in the wake of unanswered questions. I've been thinking a lot, he began, his voice heavy and purposeful. About everything. About you. About us. I swallowed, waiting for the truth behind those words. The shards of broken trust that clung to the air between us. Dad, you haven't reached out in so long. What could possibly be so important now? He took a deep breath, hesitation filling the space. It's about your mother. The mention of her name. My chest tightened. I had spent years weaving through the remnants of her absence. The unanswered questions just whispers at the back of my mind. What about her? I asked, my voice barely rising above a whisper. She's not who you think she is, he admitted, gaze fixed on his trembling hands. There are pieces of her past that I kept hidden, pieces that I thought would protect you and us. Tension prickled the back of my neck. What does that even mean? My heart raced, each syllable ricocheting against my chest. Your mother, she was involved in something significant. Something that could change everything you know about where you come from. The frankness of his admission sent chills rippling through me. My mind rushed back to the old woman and her frail yet piercing gaze. Was this the secret at the heart of her message? I don't understand. Why wouldn't you tell me this before? Is she in trouble? Is that why you need to see me now? I felt anger bubbling to the surface, fueled by fear and confusion. He looked up, his eyes swimming with emotion. In a way, yes, she's in danger. And she's coming back. Coming back? A surge of alarm shot through me. What do you mean? Where has she been? I can't explain everything right now, he half explained, his voice wavering, a glimpse of the vulnerability I had never seen before. But it's connected to the very thing that drove her away. You have a right to know, but you need to understand that the world isn't as simple as it seems. Before I could formulate a response, my phone buzzed, a message breaking through the string of tension. Instinctively, I pulled it from my pocket, feeling the thrum of anticipation mixed with dread. The screen flashed Olivia's name. I am at the coffee shop. What happened? Are you okay? Looking up to meet my father's anxious gaze again, I felt the walls closing in, the weight of his revelation pressing down like an anchor. I wanted to respond to Olivia, yet my thoughts churned, tangled in the tensions of old and new fears. Dad, I began. But just then, the doorbell chimed, slicing through the thick air, a sound that filled me with dread. I didn't invite anyone, my father said, rising to answer. The tension spiraled out beyond my control. Wait, I called out, but he was already turning the handle, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows. As the door swung wide, I squinted into the darkness, and the world around me collapsed into an unrecognizable spiral of confusion and dread. The moment stretched. This would be no simple reunion. Life, in all its chaotic beauty, was just beginning to unfold, leaving me teetering on the edge of the unknown. What I had feared most was about to unravel. The door creaked open to reveal a woman, her frame draped in a heavy coat that seemed to swallow her whole. For a moment, recognition ebbed at the edges of my memory, blurring the lines of both fear and familiarity. When she stepped into the house, the darkness seemed to retreat, as if giving her space to breathe, revealing a face that flickered like an old film, soft, haunted, yet undeniably determined. Mom? I finally breathed, the word feeling both foreign and achingly right. My heart raced with a confusion that wrapped around my chest like a vine, choking but also flooding my mind with epochs of curiosity. Olivia? My father stammered, his voice edged with an inflection I had never heard, directed at her, a mixture of disbelief and utter vulnerability. The air crackled with years of silence suddenly laid bare, and reality swayed beneath our feet. She exhaled sharply, her gaze darting around the familiar yet altered space, landing on me, and in that moment, a universe of unspoken apologies hung in the air. I didn't know how to. Why now? I interrupted, struggling to process the flurry of emotions twisting in my gut. Why come back after all this time? The answer she almost poured out was swallowed by silence, her hand pressing against her heart as if to steady the tremors. Because I had to protect you, she murmured, her voice cracking, heavy with the weight of untold stories. Protect me? You abandoned us. I felt words escaping my lips, raw and sharp, that cut through the soporific sorrow I had held inside for years. You left Dad and me without even a goodbye. We had to piece everything together without you. Ellie, my father's voice was deep, edged with pain. The way he spoke my name kept my anger from spiraling out of control. It wrapped around me like a cool layer of understanding. And for the first time, I noticed the bruises that had shaped his shoulders. The sleepless nights etching lines of concern into his one unspoken testament of a man who bore the weight of two souls on his own. Mom's expression shifted as she stepped deeper into the light, where shadows lost their hold. I know I was wrong, but trust me, there was a reason for my absence, an urgent one. It wasn't just about me. I never wanted to put you in the middle of this. Put me in the middle of what? I demanded, my composure quavering. What is this danger you're talking about? Is it about you or me or us? Her breath quickened. It's complicated. She glanced nervously at my father, as if sharing the weight of their secrets was too much for just one moment. I've been running from something real, something dangerous. And now it's caught up with me. With you. My heart pounded like a war drum. I felt my resolve waver, questioning the facade I'd built to guard myself against the cracks of abandonment now laid bare. What do you mean? What could possibly involve me? Ellie, my father began, stepping toward me as if needing to bridge the space between mother and daughter. There are things we never told you, and they weave together more intricately than we imagined. Your mother, she was involved in something with far-reaching implications connected to the Tuskegee Airmen. My breath caught in my throat. A story I had long considered mere history knotted tightly around my family. Its threads woven with valor but also violence and betrayal that could reshape everything I thought I knew. What does that have to do with me? My voice trembled, a mix of dread and hope crashing against one another, and beneath that, a flicker of something foreign tethering to a legacy I hadn't anticipated. Because, Mom whispered, voice shaking, your rightful heritage isn't just about stories of bravery, but about a lineage marred in sacrifice. It holds immeasurable power, and those who once sought to protect it are now facing the dark end of that legacy. We need to move swiftly. Just as the truth began to settle, like a heavy fog creeping over my consciousness, my phone buzzed insistently again, the screen lighting up with notifications. My heart raced, expecting to see Olivia's name once more, but it was from a number I didn't recognize, a single sentence blooming starkly on the screen. We know where you are. You should leave now. In that breathless instant, time fractured into chaos. The tremors beneath me shifted from doubt to dread, urging me to question everything, to look deeper into the connection between my past and the battles yet to be fought. That I felt the world narrow around us, the air thick with secrets and the shadows of danger just outside our door. The cliffhanger of revelation hung precariously over us, threatening, looming, and undeniable. With my heart racing and my family's fate hanging in the balance, I turned to my parents. What do we do now? That question echoed, raw and trembling, breaking the silence between us, as the shadows of uncertainty began to move. As the weight of that ominous text pressed down on us, time felt like a slowed heartbeat, a single second stretching into eternity. My mind raced, desperate for answers while grappling with the enormity of what lay before us. The truths surrounding my existence seemed unfurling, threads of a tapestry long hidden from my sight. My parents exchanged glances filled with shared dread and unvoiced history, the air crackling with tension. Leave? My voice trembled, disbelief lacing my words. We can't just leave. This is our home, the only one we have ever known. Mom stepped forward, urgency illuminating her face like a candle flaring to life in the darkness. Ellie, listen to me. We might not have much time. Her hands reached for mine, firm yet shaking. I need you to trust us. This is exactly what I was trying to protect you from all those years ago. I had my reasons for staying away, and I thought it was the safest choice. Safest choice? I echoed incredulously, pulling my hands away. Your absence turned my life into a question mark, a puzzle I could never solve. And now you waltz back in talking about danger and sacrifice like it's all a fairy tale? My father's deep sigh rumbled through the tense air, urging me to temper my emotions. Olivia, we know your anger is justified. We've all suffered differently because of this situation. But right now, we need to focus on what's coming. What exactly is coming? The question escaped my lips in a whisper, suddenly filled with dread. But the answer floated just beyond our grasp, taunting us like a distant memory. There's a group. Mom hesitated, eyes darting again. They've been searching for me, for us. They want to reclaim the past. And if they find you, her voice trailed off, laden with unspoken horrors. Your mother's involvement, her connections, could be what they're after, Dad interjected. We need to safeguard you from this, Ellie. It's more than just your lineage. It's your life they're threatening now. The urgency in their voices swirled within me, a tempest of fear and confusion. I glanced out the window, where night had draped its dark cloak over our neighborhood. Shadows flickered closer, whispering dread, while the reality that my world was disintegrating around me settled deeper. I thought of my friends, my job, everything I had come to know. Was it worth it? Mom, Dad. My voice faltered as a gnawing realization slapped against the back of my mind. What if I don't want to run? What if I want to understand? I want to know what you both have kept from me for so long. Mom's face crumpled momentarily, pain etching lines across her features. I wish I could give you the answers you seek. I wish I could explain every single detail, but it took me years to piece my own story together. I never wanted to put you in danger or burden you with something you didn't deserve. Burden. The word stung. I shifted my gaze to the floor, resenting the delicately woven web of lies and truths that had ensnared our lives. Just then, another buzz erupted from my phone, a harsh reminder of the looming threat. I picked it up reluctantly, hardly daring to look. They won't give up. I glanced between my parents, witnessing their shared commitment flicker within the tumultuous storm of emotions. We'll do this together, Dad insisted, clutching my shoulder with a new resolve. We have to stand united. But just as the moment of solidarity settled into my heart, a soft knock echoed from the door, unmistakably gentle yet filled with an anxiety of its own. Who could that be? Mom's voice was barely above a whisper, her expression shifting from fear to a hesitant hope. Don't answer it, I warned, a shiver tracing its way down my spine, but curiosity gnawed at me, urging me to step closer as I caught a glimpse of a dark figure standing outside. A sudden familiarity washed over me, light spreading anew as I recognized the silhouette. Wait, I gasped, stepping further toward the door. It's not safe, Mom whispered frantically, reaching out to pull me back. Please, just let me see. With a trembling hand, I grasped the doorknob, drawing in a deep breath that seemed to clear the fog of fear. I swung the door open. Olivia, the voice that spilled into the air, was softer than I had ever heard, but heavy with unspoken truths. It belonged to a young woman clad in shadows, her eyes wide with urgency. We don't have much time. Just as confusion wrapped around me like an unexpected cloak, the distance between my past and my present began to vanish. There was more to this journey than I could have fathomed. And as I stood in the doorway, the shadows creeping behind me and the unknown unraveling before me, I realized, deep inside my heart, that the bravery to face the secrets of our lineage was not just my mother's burden, but a legacy all of us had to uphold. As the winds of fate swept through the night, I understood that the revelation was not only about history but about survival. And this was just the beginning. The darkness outside twisted into an unsettling shroud that threatened to engulf us. Yet the flickering hope in the young woman's eyes ignited something buried deep within me. I stood there, caught between the fear my mother exuded and the urgency radiating from this stranger. My mind raced, trying to stitch together the threads of her arrival. But all I could manage was a disbelief that wrapped around my chest like a vice. Who are you? The question slipped from my lips with hesitant desperation, echoing against the otherwise silent night. Please, can we talk inside? She pleaded, glancing back over her shoulder as though the shadows had eyes. I sensed danger hovering just beyond our threshold, urging me to heed her warning. The tremor in her voice mirrored the storm within my heart. Mom's grip on my arm loosed slightly, her eyes darting to Dad as if searching for reassurance. I could see the internal struggle within her, the protective instinct clashing with the desperate need for answers. "Fine," she replied reluctantly, stepping aside, allowing the stranger to enter. "But you'll explain everything." The woman hesitated at the threshold, her gaze momentarily settling on me before she crossed into the light of our home. "Thank you." Her voice was fragile yet laced with an undeniable strength. "I'm Sophia. I've been looking for you, your family, your history. What does that mean?" I interjected, my heart racing as I took a step back, trying to process the weight of her words. "What's so important about our history?" Sophia's eyes flickered to my parents, recognizing the protective wall they had put in place. "I can't share everything now, but what I've come to warn you about is, well, it's urgent. There are forces intending to manipulate your past for their gain, and to keep that power, they'll stop at nothing." The air around us thickened, her declaration hanging in the atmosphere like a storm cloud waiting to burst. "We've been living in a bubble," Dad murmured, realization dawning on him like a slow sunrise. "But these people can tear it down." Mom shot him a look of panic. "What do you know about them? What do you think they want with us?" Her voice trembled with a mix of fear and protective fury. "They're hunting for an artifact," Sophia continued, her focus intensifying on me. "Your lineage holds the key." "Artifact?" I echoed, feeling the pieces of a puzzle I hadn't even realized existed start to come together. Something connected to the Tuskegee Airmen. Something that was lost but holds great significance. Power. Her gaze didn't waver from mine. "They believe if they can obtain it, they can rewrite history, reshape it to their advantage." The implication struck me, leaving tangles of horror and intrigue woven into my perception. I leaned against the cool wall for support, suddenly convinced I was standing at the edge of a precipice in a world that was shifting rapidly beneath my feet. I started, but the rush of words fell short. "What are we supposed to do? We have to leave, right?" Sophia's eyes softened with understanding, yet fear crackled in the air again. "Yes, but it's not just running away, it's uncovering the truth. The past always finds a way to confront us. Even when we hide." At that moment, her vulnerability drew me closer. I saw in her the shadows of my own fear, the longing for clarity, and the kind of courage that couldn't exist without confrontation. Yet, my heart raced with a rising tide of doubt, struggling to understand how I was connected to something so monumental. "We can help you," I found myself saying, the words spilling out before I could think them through. "If we can uncover this artifact, or whatever truth lies within our history, maybe we can turn the tide." Mom's expression darkened, and her protective instinct flared. "No, you don't understand the danger, Ellie. This is not a game. You've sheltered me my whole life," I shot back, my frustration boiling over. "And I'm tired of living under the weight of your choices. I want to choose my own path, even if that path leads into uncertainty." The silence that hung in the air was palpable, charged with unresolved tension. Sophia cast a knowing glance at my mother, sensing both my defiance and my parents' hesitation. "Ellie is right," she finally said, her voice a soothing counterpoint to the chaos. "You cannot hide forever. If this group is coming for you, staying means putting everyone in greater danger. You need to confront this head-on." Dad stepped in, his gaze assessing. "What do you need from us? What do we even know about our own history?" In a rare moment of intimacy, Sophia reached out and placed her hand over mine, grounding me in a whirlpool of uncertainty. "You have to trust the strength that lies within you. Together, we'll seek it out. Together, we can keep it safe." Just as I began to feel the stirrings of courage, perhaps even hope, an ominous thud echoed from the outer perimeter of our home, jolting us back into reality. Mom gasped, her eyes wide with terror as she pressed against the kitchen counter. "What was that?" I glanced at Sophia, the fear mirrored in her gaze as she stepped closer, protective instinct bubbling to the surface. Behind us, shadows moved more pronounced, drawing danger ever nearer. The weight of the unknown coiling tightly around my heart. A second thud reverberated through our sanctuary, deeper this time, as if insisting on entry. And then came the sound, a muffled voice rising above the fear, content emerging from the encroaching dark. We know you're in there, Olivia. Open up. You can't hide forever. My breath hitched, realization dawning with agonizing clarity. They were here, and whatever perceived safety my family had clung to was fracturing into shards before my very eyes. In that moment, my heart pounded in rhythm with the intensified voice that beckoned, drowning out every ounce of hope I had clung to moments before. I clenched my fists, my choices no longer mine alone but a dance upon the razor's edge of history and fate. The weight of the voice outside enveloped me like a heavy fog, wrapping around my chest and squeezing until I could hardly breathe. Olivia rang through the air again, more menacing this time an accusation, a demand. I turned to my parents, their faces pale with the dawning realization of our vulnerability. Sophia's hand slipped from mine as she moved to the window, peering through the curtain. "We need to make a decision now," she whispered urgently, her eyes scanning the dimly lit street outside. "We can't let them in. It's not safe." I stood frozen, my thoughts racing. What did this mean? Who were they, and why did they know my mother's name? The creeping dread in my stomach told me that whatever battle we were facing, we were far from prepared. "Ellie, you need to stay behind us," Mom ordered, her protective instincts taking over once more, shielding me from the encroaching danger. But there was a fire that had ignited within me, a spark perhaps inherited from the bravery of our ancestors. "The past is what they want, Mom. If we don't confront it, we won't have a future." I shot back, my heart pounding against my ribs, the echoing voice a relentless reminder of what was at stake. "Be quiet," Dad hissed, panic clawing at his tone. "If they hear you," another thud echoed, this one louder, as if the ground responded to their urgent demand. "We know you're in there. It's going to be easier if you just surrender." Sophia moved silently in the shadows, her gaze locked on my parents. "They're organized. They'll have eyes everywhere. If they're here, they could already be tracking us. I have to know why they're after us." I spoke, my will hardening against the foundation of fear. "I have to find the truth." Just as I voiced my desire, the kitchen door rattled violently, a sharp, jarring sound that sent shards of terror through the room. Mom gasped, her body reinforcing the emotional gulf that had formed between us. The need to protect me had suddenly taken on a life of its own. "What do we do?" Dad's voice trembled, stripped of authority. "Hide," Sophia urged, glancing around for any place we could retreat. Her eyes met mine, and I saw the fierce determination reflected back at me. "Whatever is to come, we must be ready together." Mom darted toward the closet, muttering for us to find safe places, but I didn't move. I stood anchored to the floor, the hesitance of my parents a shroud around me. The clarity of danger sharpened the edges of my resolve. I understood that fear could either paralyze us or propel us into action. I shouted, urgency pouring from my heart. "You can't run anymore. As uncomfortable as it is, it's time to face it." Dad shook his head. "Ellie, I don't want you anywhere near this." His voice was raw, protective to a fault. But as another thud hit the door, filling the room with reverberations of impending dread, the walls seemed to close in around us. I drew a breath, ready to launch into an explanation, ready to fight for my choice, when suddenly a silence blanketed our home. My heart raced as I glanced toward the door, my pulse an anxious drum, against the eerie stillness. "Please," a softer voice broke through, cutting through the tension like a knife. "We just want to talk." It was a false calm, cloaked in deception, but still it wrapped itself around the room. There was something unsettling in the way it ebbed and flowed, pulling at the seams of our reluctance. Sophia exchanged glances with me and then stepped closer to the door, risking it all with open vulnerability. "Who are you?" she called, her voice steady despite the tension crackling in the air. "We know your family holds a key to something monumental." The voice responded, calm yet riddled with latent threat. "We don't want to hurt you. We're here to help you understand your past." My pulse quickened. "You're lying," I yelled, the sincerity of my indignation fueling the battle roaring within me. "Let us in," the voice urged, and I could feel the weight of their eyes boring into the wood of our door, dissecting our hesitance. "We don't trust you." Mom interjected, her fierce protectiveness reigniting, just as my latent determination surged. Then came a shuffling sound, faint echoes creeping closer, footsteps drawing near, aligning around the threshold, and I knew that if they truly meant to help us, they wouldn't have knocked down our door. "It's a trap," Dad shouted, pulling back toward us, intent on protecting me even as desperation clawed at him. Sophia leaned in closer to whisper in my ear, "Ellie, if you're sure, we must act now." I end the cacophony of clashing emotions. My heart settled onto a singular truth. This wasn't just about the artifact. It was about our very lives and the shadows that had chased my family for generations. I was done being a prisoner to fear, and I knew the only way forward was through those terrifying uncertainties. With every ounce of courage I could muster, I nodded at Sophia and stepped toward the door. "Let's find out what they want," I said firmly, my voice cutting through the air and casting aside the oppressive weight of fear. Before I could change my mind, I took hold of the doorknob, my heart racing in pursuit of a truth I might not be ready to face. As I turned the knob, the world around me gripped my heart in an urgent embrace, tipping me towards the unknown. And as the door creaked open, the chilling realization settled. I had no idea who, or what, awaited us on the other side, nor could I foresee the fierce storm that was about to unleash within the depths of my family's hidden history. The door swung open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadow. His face was half-lit by the faint glow of the street lamps outside, drawing intricate lines of conflict across his features. He stood tall, an imposing presence that made my heart skitter with a mix of dread and intrigue. Before I could even speak, he lifted a hand in a placating gesture, his voice smooth as silk, yet laden with something darker. "I mean you no harm. My name is Marcus, and I'm here because we share a common bloodline," he declared, his eyes locking onto mine with an unsettling intensity. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice less powerful than I intended. My body quivered with uncertainty, and behind me, I could feel the tension rise as my family huddled closer. "Your ancestry is intertwined with a legacy far beyond your imagination. There's a war coming, and only those who understand their past can hope to survive," he said, his voice dipping into an urgency that ignited my curiosity. "I don't care about some legacy," I shot back, the defiance in my tone belying the truth that a flicker of interest had ignited within me. "What do you want with us?" "Your family holds a key that could change everything," he replied, glancing back toward the street, a fleeting reminder that our conversation was precarious, set against the backdrop of lurking dangers. "The ones after you, the ones who knocked. We need to know what you have hidden away." My heart raced as I exchanged glances with Mom and Dad. They stood staunch at the threshold between the known and the unknown, a battleground marked by years of secrets, now drawn out into the open. "We need to protect Ellie," Mom whispered harshly to Dad, her gaze flickering to me, drenched in worry. She had always fought for my safety, but I felt something new stirring within me, a drive fueled by the urgency of the moment. "Protecting me has never changed anything," I snapped, surprising even myself with the sharpness of my words. "I want the truth. Who is coming after us? And why?" Marcus sighed, the weariness of his own battle weighing on him. "They are the remnants of a group that believes they can reclaim the past. They are relentless, and they're coming for you because they fear what you might uncover. Don't you dare lie." Dad's voice quaked with the authority and anger, unwilling to budge from his stance. "We're done being pawns in some game." "Enough," I shouted, anger and fear colliding. "We've spent too long hiding. Show us what you know or get out." The atmosphere thickened, the air heavy with the collision of unwavering wills. Marcus's expression softened, revealing a flicker of understanding. "I can help, but you'll need to trust me. We don't have time. The clock is ticking, and they will come for you once more." Before I could respond, the familiar sound of footsteps echoed in the alleyway behind Marcus, their steady rhythm like a drum signaling an encroaching storm. Mom's breath hitched as dread laced through the air. "Leave now," Dad interjected, forceful yet fearful, pushing us all back within the safety of our home once more. "Please," Marcus called, urgency punctuating his voice as he stepped forward. "You can't shut the door on your history." But I hesitated, torn between the safety of the known and the alluring call of the unknown. I could feel the flame of bravery rising within me, but it flickered in the face of my family's palpable fear. Who was this man, truly? Did his words shield a hope? Or was he merely leading us further into shadows we weren't prepared to understand? In the brief moment of my indecision, I felt an unexpected warmth as Sophia placed her hand over mine, a subtle reminder of our bond in the face of chaos. "Ellie," she whispered fiercely, "trust yourself. We can't let fear dictate our choices." A violent crash echoed from the back of the house, splintering through our fragile moment of tension. Someone was there. They had breached our barrier, and panic ricocheted sharply in my chest as the realization dawned. "Ellie, we need to go," Mom urged, her eyes wide with terror as she pulled at my sleeve, her instincts roaring ahead of reason. "Wait," called, still gripping the doorframe as though it might anchor me against the twirling reality of fear and uncertainty. "Ellie," Sophia said again, her voice steady as a rock amid the storm. "This is a chance for us to step into who we are. This is our moment." And suddenly, the realization came crashing down. Every part of me quivered at the threshold of revelation. This was a point of no return, a moment to embrace our legacy, whether it was a blessing or a curse. I lifted my chin, my design set. Then let's go. Together. Just as we made our choice, the door behind Marcus burst open, slamming against the wall with a resonating crash. A figure loomed in the doorway, dark and ominous, silhouetted against the stark light of our home. Their face twisted in a clenched grin that sent a visceral chill skimming down my spine. "We can't let them play God with your life," Marcus urged, his voice firm. "Let me lead you now." The shadows enveloped the room, echoing with whispers of ancestral legacies yet to be revealed. With my family beside me, I felt the floor shift beneath us. No longer a solid footing, but an uncertain precipice looming above a vast unknown. "Go," Marcus shouted, thrusting an arm toward safety amidst the chaos. But in that instant, the familiar warmth of my family connected to mine flickered, dimmed by the sinking reality that the truth we sought could very well tear us apart in ways we couldn't yet comprehend. With my heart pounding, we surged forward into the coming storm, crossing the threshold of our lives into the very fabric of the unknown, hoping the flame of our bravery would burn brightly enough as we sought refuge from the shadows ready to claim us. As the chaos erupted around us, we surged forward into the unknown, each step unearthing a flicker of determination that burned brightly against the encroaching darkness. The distant echo of sirens wove through the air, blending with the heavy thud of our footsteps as we raced down the alley, shadows stretching behind us like specters of the past. Marcus led the way, each movement purposeful and laden with urgency. I felt the warmth of my parents close behind me, their presence a tether amid the swirling uncertainty that threatened to consume us. The night air was thick with tension, and in those fleeting moments, I grasped the gravity of the journey we were undertaking, not just for ourselves, but for the legacies we carried. "Where are we going?" I called out breathlessly, my voice slicing through the tension like a warning bell. "To a safe house. Somewhere far from here," Marcus replied, glancing back at me with a fierceness that ignited my resolve. "You need to understand there are answers waiting for you that I want to understand," I insisted, the words spilling from my heart with fervor. "But it feels like every step pulls me further from everything I've known." Marcus paused, his expression softening as he met my gaze. "History often drags us into places we never thought we'd go. It's tied to who you are, to your family. Everything you hold dear has roots in this legacy." Ellie, I felt the weight of every unsaid word, every flicker of doubt settling in my chest. Yet a pulse of curiosity kept me moving. My family's history isn't solely about courage and sacrifice. It's woven with choices, both good and bad. "It's time you knew." As we darted into the recesses of an alley, the darkness closed in, and for a moment, I felt the walls of my past begin to close in around me. The silence was heavy, and yet it felt alive, resonating with the truths I had hungered to unravel. "What choice did my mom make that put us in danger?" I pressed, desperation edging my tone. "That's a question only your mother can answer," Marcus said, a cautious tone overlaying his voice. But understand this, the past chose you long before you chose it. And now, the battle isn't just about survival. It's about reclaiming what's rightfully yours. Yours. The word echoed in my mind, sending ripples of recognition coursing through me. Was I truly ready to face the truths that lay in the shadows? Suddenly, a blaring horn broke through the darkness, halted by the soft glow of distant streetlights, which beckoned like distant stars. "We need to hurry," Marcus urged, and my heart raced faster than my thoughts as we veered into a concealed entrance overlooking a small parking lot. It was within its confines that our lives began to shift in unforeseen ways. Once inside the haven of forgotten memories, I could see the urgency etched into my family's faces. "What is this place?" Dad whispered, his voice barely steady enough for me to hear. The narrow space was filled with boxes and posters of men and women I recognized, the Tuskegee Airmen, their bravery frozen in time, their valor a testament to their legacy. "It's a safe house," Marcus answered, stepping deeper into the dimly lit interior. "My family helped protect yours during darker days. This is a place where those who understand the truth can gather, where your history can shine once more." Unease stirred within me, blending with my growing thirst for knowledge. Will we find those answers here? Will we uncover the artifact you mentioned? He nodded, gesturing toward a dusty trunk nestled against the wall. "It's where your mother stashed it, her path towards reclaiming who you are. I'll lead you to everything you need." That I stepped forward, the weight of history resting heavily on my shoulders. What artifact could possibly intertwine our legacies? Slowly, I opened the trunk, and a rush of emotion washed over me as I peered inside. It was filled with worn maps, letters decorated with the ink of forgotten stories, and at its very heart, a small wooden box. As I reached out to lift the box, my fingers brushed against a slip of paper that fluttered with the memory of time long past. In that moment, a lingering echo of my grandfather's brave silhouette appeared in my mind, and I understood the significance of what lay before me. With trembling hands, I opened the box, revealing a locket. The moment it met the air, it shimmered with stories and memories, whispering secrets between us. "I had to keep it safe," Marcus continued, his voice wrapped around me like a comforting embrace. "It holds memories of those who came before you, of your family's strength, and of the sacrifices made to protect it." That I glanced at my parents, searching their expressions for affirmation that I end this fragile moment. I felt the raw connection between us grow stronger. Together, we were more than just individuals. We were the culmination of every story, every struggle, and every act of bravery. I needed to understand, not just for myself but for the family that fought to uphold our shared legacy. And then it struck me, a sudden realization that cut through the haze of uncertainty like a beacon of light. What if we're not just fighting to reclaim the artifact? What if we're fighting for our own truths, our own voices? They can't control us any longer. We need to be brave, Mom whispered, determination flaring in her eyes. "Just as your grandfather was. Together we can tell our story," Dad echoed with a resolute nod, the weight on his shoulders lightening just a touch. The shadows outside seemed to whisper back, urging us to act, to reclaim our power. As the locket glowed softly in my palms, I felt a fire ignite, my purpose blooming as we intertwined our destinies into one cohesive thread of courage. Just then, a thunderous crash echoed from outside, a reminder that time was slipping away. Without a moment's hesitation, I clutched the locket tightly against my chest, the heart of our legacy pulsing with potential in time with my own. "Let's stand together," I murmured, the words spilling from my heart as I looked at my parents, then at Marcus and Sophia, ready to face whatever lay beyond the doors. The air seized in anticipation, heavy with the promise of revelation and a storm brewing on the horizon. We made our choice to step forward collectively, into the fire of discovery, and seek the courageous legacy waiting for us. As the door creaked open, I felt the locket buzz in my palm, wrapping all of our hearts together in the fabric of bravery, and ushering us forward into the unknown. In that moment, we transformed from a family lost in shadows to a force thriving in the light, bound not just by blood, but by a legacy written in courage and resilience. And as I stepped across the threshold, I whispered fiercely to the night, "We are here. We will not fade away." The world outside shifted, alive with possibility, a new chapter unfolding in the story of our lives. As we emerged into the unfolding dawn, ready to inscribe our mark upon the future and reclaim a legacy long awaited. In that instant, I understood bravery runs deeper than blood. It flows through the choices we make and the love we share, igniting the flames of hope that illuminate even the darkest of paths. And with that, I knew we would rise stronger, bolder, unyielding together, against whatever storm awaited us on the other side.